Hey, this is the Queen of Extreme, Francine, and you are listening to the Interactive Interview.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. It's our first one in a few weeks, and we are joining you, as always, with our co-hosts, Mr. Patrick Kelly.
Howdy, y'all.
And Mr. Nick Knoll.
This is going to be a good one, folks. I get to force James to admit he was wrong.
Absolutely, and I think what he's talking about was the Destination X pay-per-view. Now, last year and the years prior, TNA has actually gone out of their way to do an exceptionally special storyline-building, storyline-based episode of Impact that follows the pay-per-view, because Destination X is kind of a break from that in order to focus on the X Division action. And as such, I really don't care about the pay-per-view, the X Division. I could take or leave a lot of the time. This show really had something special. That was a really good event. And kudos to Bobby Roode and Austin Aries. We could debate the psychology of the finish, if Roode should have just held the belt until Bound for Glory, or whatever the plans might be. We can debate that all along. Following that storyline, the simple psychology of the match that both announcers actually managed to pick up on and discuss. Kudos to Jeremy Borash.
But by the way, I was talking with James about this. I think Jeremy Borash should be on the booth from now on. He's really good.
He definitely seems like he adds something. I think they would be fine doing a three-man booth, because it does seem like Borash picks up on some of the psychology a little bit more. Today's a pretty good play-by-play man. I think Taz is pretty good when he explains what the moves are actually supposed to be doing. I mean, he tries to make some valid points, like, you know, why certain guys can suplex. Like, I remember during the Matt Morgan, Scott Steiner feud, they had something where Taz was kind of going, well, the reason Steiner is actually able to suplex him is it's a lot easier for him to sink the hips in, and that was actually something that made some sense.
That's true. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I like Taz just fine. They, as a team, seem to like each other a little too much, and as a result, kind of let their BS commentary and not funny jokes get in the way of actually telling the story of the matches.
But we can all agree they're still better than Lawler and Cole.
No, that we can agree on.
Yeah. But, James, I'm actually not even talking about the pay-per-view. I want to talk about, and we all have to admit we're wrong on this. Austin Aries, who is now the TNA World Champion, is a guy that for years you two said, I don't see what the big deal is, why people think he's the next so-and-so, and I myself have always said, at best, he's going to be a great X Division champion. Actually show the world, wow, this guy is a main eventer. This guy can actually get in a major title match and steal the show, and now he's actually a world champion.
Yeah, well, the way TNA has presented him has really made him stand out over any of the other runs that he's ever had. Like I said, and Nick, you're absolutely right. I was never that impressed with Austin Aries prior to this last run in TNA. I remember the last two times he was in TNA before this, I was like, who's this AJ Styles wannabe? He's boring. Go away and give the push to Alex Shelley. I don't like this guy. But in this last run, he's really, I don't know if it's just the strong booking. I don't know if he's just finally found a niche and he's found something that's clicking or whatever it is. But they really got something here with this guy. And that main event to the pay-per-view, I mean, like you say, it was a great match, a great moment to close on. And I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with this, because we were all thinking, well, Rude's going to hold the title until Bound for Glory. Now it's like, oh, well, gee, I don't know what's going to happen, so you might as well tune in to find out.
I did it with CM Punk, and I'll say it with Austin Aries. He did impress me, and I'll tell you what it was that really impressed me and how I realized that he was legit. And it's so subtle. It's so subtle nobody else would have picked up on it. Either that or I'm incredibly warped and nobody else would care. But when he came out on Impact just last week, up until this point I was on the fence with him. He came out and the crowd was doing yes, 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 yes. He just put his hand out and said enough, and they stopped. And I don't know why that impressed me in the way it did. Maybe it's because I remember how annoying as hell it was when everybody had to what every 5 seconds. And
they still do it.
And it affected the speak pattern of everybody who cuts a promo to where they had to do it around the stupid what chant. And yes, they still do it, not as much as they used to, but they still do it. He's the first one to address these stupid yes, 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 yes things that they were doing, stamp it out, and actually make them stop. And just the simple enough. And they stopped. I was like, yeah, I get it now. That's cool. And it's as simple as that. If he can control a crowd like that, then he absolutely deserves to be in that picture. And, we could debate his look all day long, and we can debate a lot of things about him, but the fact is, in-ring, he did excellent. His character is as strong as it's going to get. And, yeah, he deserved to be in that main event, just as Bobby Roode did. Bobby Roode, by the way, is phenomenal, and I can't say enough good things about him either. This role that he's got...
one of the best title reigns in TNA history? Would you go that far?
Absolutely. He reminds me so much of Rick Rude that it's not even funny. And I don't mean that as an insult to him, like he's ripping him off. He just clearly has that same psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they say about Rude is, and I remember this when he first broke away from Team Canada, a lot of the reports we would read about him was a lot of people saw him as that future main eventer. They saw him in this role at some point down the line, and they said, he's one of those guys that really understands the psychology of the business. He's a student of the game, as they say. And I've said this numerous times about him, and I mean this as nothing but a compliment. He's a guy that if you put him in a time machine and took him back to the glory days of the AWA, he could get a job there. You could take him to Mid-South. He could get a job there. He could get a job with the WWF. He has kind of a timeless style to everything that he does. I like, like some of the more extreme, exciting moves, but that said, Bobby Roode works a style that, we were seeing years ago, and the simple stuff still works.
And it also helps that he's one of the best heels around as far as the way he speaks and the way he presents himself as well. So, yeah, Bobby Roode, you get two guys that are red hot, you put them in a match, it delivers. What else can you say?
Some, and there is the argument, as James is saying, that, well, it should have been, he should have kept it the whole year for the Storm match. I feel like this was a case of striking while the iron was really hot with Aries, where, wow, people were really getting behind him, and there was that potential. And I feel like this cements him as a main eventer. You never know. If he had lost this match, there's a very good chance he kind of slips into mid-card again, mid-card obscurity again. And you know what? I feel like if they still want to go with Roode versus Storm at Bound for Glory, which, like Patrick said, is no longer that's definitely going to happen, there's enough time to put the belt back on Roode and rebuild the heat. To be perfectly honest, you could have the rematch at Hardcore Justice. Roode cheats to win the belt, do a blow-off stipulation match at the next pay-per-view, and, voila, the heat's back on Roode. He can even be kind of arrogant because, I dropped it, but I got it right back. And then it's like, oh, shit, here comes James Storm to beat the living hell out of him.
Well, they can even do a three-way if they want, Aries, Storm, and Roode. Basically the three hottest guys in the company right now. So, opens up a lot of possibilities. But that was not the only really good thing about Destination X, I have to say. James and I were talking about it off air. I thought Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle had a very good match. And here's what I'll say, and this is why I like the Bound for Glory series so much. You look at Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle on paper, you think, well, we've seen this match a dozen times, so where's the intrigue there, But because it's part of this Bound for Glory series that they're doing, and it's part of this system, it creates a lot of intrigue given the situation. It's like, all right, if Joe wins by submission, he takes the lead. Or if Angle wins this way, he could go into second place. And it creates a lot of discussion. It almost feels like a real sport, and that's why I like the Bound for Glory series so much. So really, I mean, under that format, you can do pretty much any match, and it carries some level of weight to it, given the system of the Bound for Glory series. And Joe and Angle went out there and had a great match. So, yeah, that was great all around.
Yeah, and I liked the finish with Joe choking him out because you could if you wanted to do like a rematch or something, you know, and keep that those two guys working against each other, you could have Angle say, "Hey, I didn't tap out. That's not right. The referee called it off." You know, because it gives Angle kind of a little bit of leverage, but at the end of the day, you know, Joe says, "I got the job done. I got my 10 points." And I like something Joe did before the promo, before the match, where he cut a promo and he said, "You know, last year my plan was just to kill everybody, and that didn't work. This year I'm thinking out what I'm going to do. I'm planning. I'm strategizing." And they're acknowledging the last year in the Bound for Glory series, he sucked. I think he finished with negative 10 points.
Yes.
And, you know, and I said this before, I like the Bound for Glory series because it kind of, like, you know, it makes it feel like a real sport, and it almost becomes like the playoffs, you know, because there's so many different things that can go on. There's all these different possibilities. You know, you had James Storm get out to that big lead. Now the guys are catching up to him. You know, literally, I mean, you could see almost anyone except Robbie E. winning this thing, and maybe not the Pope.
No, I don't see the Pope winning it either.
Stand a chance?
Say what?
You're saying that Jersey doesn't stand a chance?
Well, I'm saying Jersey would stand a chance if it weren't represented by Robbie E. in this thing.
No. Well, I mean, it's obvious that he's just there to be the fall guy.
Yeah,
you know,
I like Robbie E. I'm just saying that, you know, like Patrick said, he's there to be the fall guy. He's there to be the guy that, well, we got to get some points on Angle this week. Okay, he's going to go tap out Robbie E.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there was the Angle Joe match, and even though I've seen this match 18 kajillion times, and I'm beyond sick of it, AJ and Daniels had a great match. I throw that out there. Out of the millions of matches that they've had, this one's in the top 5 somewhere.
Which is pretty tough to do when you, like you said, in TNA alone, not counting Ring of Honor and various other independent companies, they've wrestled each other more than any other two men on the planet at this point. Just an incredible, you know, series of matches. But, you know, it is a little tiring. That said, I feel like the stipulation kind of freed them up to do some new things. I mean, they did, like, I thought the part where, you know, AJ had hit the move on Daniels and he was standing over him, and then Kazarian just comes out and just shoves AJ flying off the apron. I was like, oh, damn. How the fuck did he not break every rib on that?
Yeah, and the Styles Clash off the stage was friggin' crazy. I mean, this easily beats out their match from Destination X last year, their Bound for Glory match from last year. So, you know, it wasn't nowhere near as stale as some of their recent previous encounters have been. And
the question I have for you, though, is how do you protect yourself when you're taking the Styles Clash through the table onto the floor? I mean, how does either guy not walk away with injuries from that?
I have to assume it's a case of keep your core tight and pray for the best, because there really is no way. I would assume the table breaking, because it's pre-cut, takes some of the energy away, you know, but that's just me guessing. I mean, I think to a certain extent it's like, okay, Chris, hold on, this is going to suck.
Yeah. Yeah, I that's one of those spots where they're like, yeah, not me. I'm not doing that. Nope.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah, they did a couple in that match. I mean, they repeatedly were slamming each other on the stage. I mean, they did a part where they both did the double clothesline and knocked each other down. I'm like, oh, God, guys.
Didn't Daniels get the back of his head busted open, too?
Yeah, I think
probably on that reverse DDT that AJ did, if I was to guess.
Yeah.
I think he got gassed twice. I think one of those might have been just the old blade technique, the part where he got rammed in the steps. I think they wanted to have them both bleeding, and then I think, the back of his head got cut open. But that's what happens when you have no hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah, so those were the three great matches. I have to say the tournament itself was probably the weakest part of the show. The Ultimate X was okay. The singles matches were okay mostly. The best part about it really was the Sorensen promo.
Right.
I thought it established a direction and a future feud.
Exactly. And first off, I want to say how great it was just to see Jesse Sorensen walking again. We may dislike a lot of wrestlers on this show, but we never want to see someone seriously injured. So it was great to see Jesse Sorensen just up and walking again. And, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential there. And I like how I think it was Jeremy Borash said, can you imagine on the night that Jesse Sorensen returns, Zema Ion, of all people, wins the X Division title? And they were playing it up that, Ion was just kind of a hard. And Ion cut a pretty good promo where he said, thank you, Jesse, because without you, I would have never realized my full potential. It's like, God damn, you're a heartless son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's nice to see, like, an actual X Division feud with some legitimate beef there. Well, not, quote-unquote legitimate, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, that was interesting. And overall, Destination X, I thought, was another really good pay-per-view by TNA. They're third in a row.
Right. I think they're on a really good streak. I even think the shows, for the most part, with the exception of one glaring angle that they cut down on the last couple weeks, have been pretty good. There's been a lot of really good stuff with TNA. There's been a problem with one thing, but that seems like they might be dropping it, hopefully.
What angle is that?
The Clara angle.
Yes, they're not having an affair, guys. They were helping some ugly crack whore that we don't know. All right, now let's listen. If this was WWE, Nick would still be ranting on it. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, yes, I would. But you know what? I'm trying to at least, and I'm the first to admit it, I'm biased. But my point is, there is an element of people that enjoy the soap opera side of wrestling. So I understand why that element's there.
I think, Nick, I agree with you, but my premise is that we don't know who she is. And frankly, in this vein where she's pregnant already and all that, nobody really cares either.
Right.
So if it was somebody like, if they brought somebody in like, let's just throw a name out there, Winter or Angelina Love or something, and did a pregnancy angle with her where we have a predisposed knowledge of who the hell they are, or Daphne or anybody like that where we know who they are, and they came out and said they had this real legitimate problem, that's why they've been off TV, maybe it would work a little bit better. But because we have legitimately no idea who this person is, and it's presented in a way where we feel like we should, that's where I'm kind of like, who gives a shit?
I actually agree with you, James, and I'll be honest. I thought, you know who they should have done this story with? Tracy.
Who's that?
Tracy, who is legitimately Frankie Kazarian's wife, and that'd be a great reason for, if the implication was that AJ had knocked up Frankie's wife, well, that perfectly explains Frankie's heel turn. I agree with you that it wasn't a good idea to have this woman that we had no prior knowledge of or understanding of, or we had never even remotely seen anywhere near the screen. I mean, they should have done it like with a knockout, or they should have come up with a better explanation. I think it was they wrote themselves into a corner and they kicked and screamed their way out of it, and it's like, okay, moving on, because I'm praying to God they're dropping this story, because while I do love the AJ Styles Christopher Daniels matches, I also feel like we've seen it needs a long break. That's enough. Let's move on.
No, it needs to be over. Like, no mas.
I agree, no mas. What I'm just saying is it's time to wrap it up. That you can have it be AJ got his revenge in the last man standing match. Have Kazarian and Daniels defend their tag team titles. Move it on, people. Let's move on, people.
Yes, absolutely. But, yeah, that's Destination X. So, overall, really good pay-per-view, really good show. TNA's third in a row, like we said. I like Sacrifice. I really enjoyed Slammiversary, and this one was really good as well. So, they're on a streak. They're on a roll. What can I say? And then we turn around and watch Monday Night Raw, which was one of the worst fucking shows I've seen in a while.
Hey, Patrick, before we move on to the WWE discussion, I actually think we should discuss one more thing TNA related, and that was kind of the big story that broke last week, and that was Kenny King leaving Ring of Honor.
Oh, yes. To
join TNA, because that was kind of, to me, that was the bigger story last week.
Yeah, well, number one, Ring of Honor, they're morons for keeping a tag title on a guy whose contract was set to expire. I mean, I don't blame TNA for this. They found a talent that was available, and they picked him up. And maybe it's kind of a dick move on Kenny King's part, but, yeah, Ring of Honor kind of did that to themselves. I mean, I'm sorry, man.
I mean, I'm going to say this. I have to admit, earlier I forced James to admit he was wrong, and now I must admit that I was wrong. See, last year when Ring of Honor was bought by Sinclair Broadcasting, I said it would have absolutely no effect on the company. I was wrong, because since Sinclair bought the show, bought that company, it has become absolutely, positively fucking pathetic. It is horrible. The shows are boring. And they're stupid enough to put a tag team championship on a guy that doesn't have a contract. And you know what? I can't blame Kenny King for leaving because, well, let's look. They stopped using the Young Bucks, T.J. Perkins. A couple of years ago, they cut Austin Aries because, quote, he cost too much money, yet they spent tons of money on Fat Storm. Finley apparently now is a top contender for the TV title. Rhino's back. It's turning into fucking Velocity. Which is something that, I mean, let's call it what it is here. I mean, Ring of Honor fans used to accuse TNA of doing that a lot, where they would take the WWE cast-offs like Hardy and Rob Van Dam and push them heavily. Now it's like, well, I mean, you're taking, the C-level guys. You're taking the guys that got crushed by Hardy and RVD, every week when they had to build them back up after Triple H killed them. Yeah. Look, I'll say this, and people have to understand something. It's something I'm coming more and more to a conclusion to, and that's wrestling is a fucking god-awful way to make a living, especially if you're an independent wrestler. You play small shows, your body takes a beating, there's no security. God knows how many stories I've read over the years about a promoter that took the money and ran and didn't pay the boys. You can't blame a guy in the prime years of his career with a young daughter at home for saying, you know what, I got an opportunity to sign a guaranteed contract with a company that does pay-per-views and is on a major television network. So I'm signing my contract and I'm leaving. You could argue that he should have made it clear that he was leaving, but I also think there's a side of the story here of he didn't really want to stay, but he said, okay, I'll stick around until I find something better. You know what? I don't think he technically did anything wrong. He may have morally done something wrong, but I think Ring of Honor kind of overreacted by going, well, we'll never work with this guy again. He screwed us over. He gave us his word. Yeah, and how many times can a wrestling company just stop booking a guy because, oh, we got nothing for you? Yeah, sorry, we don't have any plans. We'll call you if something comes up. I mean, that happens. Tell you who I feel sorry for, Rhett Titus. Yeah. He's going to get chopped out now. He's going to take the brunt of it. It's kind of like, the curtain call in MSG where, it's like, well, Sean's top guy, can't punish him, and Razor and Diesel are leaving, so Triple H, you got to be the fall guy for 4 months or whatever it was. So what you're saying is that at some point Rhett Titus will marry Jim Cornette's daughter. That'd be hilarious. Which honestly, I hope they don't do that because Rhett's a guy who, I remember from his early days at the ROH wrestling school and the early days of his gimmick and thinking, wow, this guy's got a lot of potential. This is actually kind of fun to watch. His whole ladies' man stripper gimmick. And, seeing him grow the last couple of years with Kenny as a tag team partner and seeing him, I was so happy when they won those belts. I was like, damn it, those two guys deserve this opportunity. So I'm hopeful that if he stays with Ring of Honor, that they just say, you know what, that was your partner. You've been with us since you began your career. We're going to do something with you. I mean, he'd be perfect for their TV title picture. He'd be perfect if they got him another tag team partner to stay in the tag team title picture. Or you know what? My ultimate hope for him is, you know what? Maybe TNA is sending feelers out to him too. Because you know what? He's an incredibly talented young guy. And the All Night Express could do a lot in the TNA tag team division.
All right, sounds good. But
well, here's my thing,
yeah,
guys, and I want to say this before we wrap up. This will be my kind of swan song. On Impact, they announced that Bound for Glory was going to be happening here in Phoenix, and I got to tell you that even though there's a pay-per-view this weekend in Phoenix, which is the WWE's Money in the Bank, rarely do we get anything really cool here. I'm not going to be going to Money in the Bank. Nothing against WWE. I just don't see the reason to put down the amount of money that they're asking for ticket prices to go see it. I have yet to see the ticket prices for Bound for Glory. However, I have every intention of attending. Mostly because I've never seen a TNA event ever. They've never been to Phoenix before. They very rarely have gone west of the Mississippi. So I'm looking forward to seeing this thing in person.
Now, that actually worries me that you tell me that, because it's like, are they going to be able to draw a crowd?
In Phoenix? Probably not. They'll get people there, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get people there. I mean, if I have to be their liaison to point them in the right direction to what people watch out here, where they could send Hogan or Rude or whoever they want to send out to do promotions for it, I'd be more than happy to point the finger and hopefully grab an interview here on our own show. But I'd be happy to help them out in any way I can to draw as many people into that arena as I possibly can. I mean, I know the area very well, so that's my suggestion. That had me hyped about wrestling. Destination X was amazing. Then I see the shitter that was Raw that had as many hits on it as the American League baseball team in the All-Star game.
I was just watching that game before you called.
It's 8-0 as I watch. Yeah.
Alex, right, I'm probably going to come stay with you if Bound for Glory's in Phoenix.
It is in Phoenix, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, man. I do have a couch, yes, a couple of couches, not a pull-out couch though. But yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing Bound for Glory. I've never seen Hogan in an arena, and I'm hoping that if he's still with the company come October, and I'm pretty sure he will be, that he'll be there in some capacity, at least even if he comes out and cuts a promo, that I can say I saw him in an arena. The arena that it's actually at is a college basketball arena, just to kind of let you know. It's not going to be like U.S. Airways Center like the Money in the Bank pay-per-view is at. It's at a 5,000-seater, which I guess is okay for TNA.
For them, that's good. I mean, I love TNA, but I think they said that their highest attendance was that stadium show. U.S. attendance was that show in Dallas, but Slammiversary, and I'm like, that wasn't a very big arena. I think they got like somewhere around like 4,000 people to show up for that. So, I mean, it's like a 5,000-seat arena is about the right size for TNA when they have a really successful event. So
I don't know if they'll fill it. I really do not know if they'll fill it. I will be buying tickets because I want to sit somewhere in able to see it. But I'm willing to bet that if they front some seats, they'll get more seaters there. But yeah, I mean, if they need help with anything, I'm going to definitely be poking my head through the door at TNA saying, hey, do you need me to contact anybody for you? I'll be glad to do this for you. Let me do this for you, and give me fan access, and in exchange, and I'll be glad.
That's pretty sweet. I was actually, and this shows how much better TNA's gotten lately. I was actually hoping that they would say the show was going to be in D.C. because I would have gone.
Well, I've written 50,000 letters to Dixie Carter and the TNA offices begging them to do a TV taping or something in Omaha. So when they said it's a city we've never been to before, I was like, come on, God, give me this. I swear, I'll donate my time to blind orphans that have cancer. Just give me this. And then she said Phoenix.
Oh, that's sad. But, yeah, Bound for Glory, going to be in Phoenix, Arizona. Hopefully that works out well for them, and hopefully this roll that they're on continues because they've really gotten hot lately.
Yeah. Let's cross our fingers. Unfortunately, now I guess we do have to turn to a company that's not really on a roll. A company that...
I'll tell you this right now. The two things they have going right now that the WWE has going that have me interested involve guys that aren't even there full time. And that's Brock Lesnar and The Rock.
Yeah. You know, I'm just going to say this. 1 year ago, more or less, we had the CM Punk pipe bomb promo, which hyped so many people up like, oh, my God, did you see that? Oh, my God, that was amazing. I mean, everyone was excited about it, except for me because I am so pessimistic about WWE these days. And then we had Money in the Bank, and we had the big match, and Punk won it, and everyone was so excited. 1 year later, yeah, it's like that never really happened, except Punk does have the WWE title, but that's really it.
Well, we all thought he was going to be a Steve Austin type of champion that was going to, like, his personality was going to radiate and just change the face of the entire company. Instead, he's kind of become like a Bret Hart champion where it's like, well, the show might suck, but I'm going to give you the best show I possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, part of that I think is just they want it. They know who they want.
Like to make a call? Please hang up and.
What was that?
I'm wondering if James left his line open somehow.
Okay. Well, all right. What were you going to say, Nick?
Well, I was saying, I think a lot of that has to just do with the fact that they're still so determined to focus on John Cena. I mean, when Austin was champion, they were putting him in the main event. There was no question it was going to be Austin, unless something really, really big was happening. But even like the filler pay-per-views, Austin was main eventing. This run, I mean, it's like he wasn't the main event at WrestleMania. He wasn't the main event the month after WrestleMania. He wasn't the main event last month. It's like he works the opening match far more often than he works the, main event. It's like, this isn't how you book your champion. This is supposed to be the prize everyone goes for. It's like, still the main story is, what's John Cena doing?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm actually hoping when Rock comes back, they do something with him and Punk, because I'd much rather see that match than, anything they do with John Cena. Because, and if this ladder match with him in it, main events, the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, I'm just going to, like, look, just win. First of all, we all know he's going to win, right? Has everybody figured that out by now, that Cena's going to be given the win here? We all know that.
Patrick, Stevie Wonder can see this twist coming. He's going to win it.
Well, it's not a twist. I mean, it's just, you can see it coming a mile away. I mean, because really, the other three guys in this match aren't viable options. Jericho might be leaving soon. Big Show's monster push has been destroyed because, well, he already got beat, so okay. And Kane, him and Cena are buddies now. After trying to kill each other for 2 months, they can be tag team partners now.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, that was such a good, important feud. It's like that's why I don't get excited when Kane shows up again, folks, because whether he's a heel, whether he's a babyface, wait 2 months, he's turned heel or babyface again.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, oh, Lord. Oh, God. And you know what, Patrick? Unfortunately, I do think that's going to main event the card because so often they just turn to what John Cena's doing. I just feel like they're going to put him in the main event because it's John Cena. Oh, God.
Oh, well,
yeah.
That makes me sad. But, yeah, I mean, and Raw was just, and that wasn't even the worst part of Raw. It was the anonymous GM crap, and they had to revisit Lawler and Cole for the 800th time. And which,
I'm so glad our big payoff to who the hell this anonymous GM was Hornswoggle. So for all you people that have wanted to know who it was for years on end and were claiming it was going to be so fascinating when we found it out, congratulations. You got the fucking midget.
Yeah, well, yeah. And so that shows right there that Vince McMahon does not plan as strictly or as, doesn't plan all the details out as closely as everybody says he does. That right there. They poured a year into the computer, did nothing with it, then it went away for about a year. Now they brought it back just so they could say it was a leprechaun. So, okay.
Yeah, and is there ever going to be any, like, explanation for why Hornswoggle, everyone's goofy little buddy, you know, was allowed to be the general manager and was such a dick to everyone and apparently was Michael Cole's favorite person? I mean, it's like, I know that it was probably a change, like they had a different idea in mind and then they brought it back because, oh, it will be so funny if it's Hornswoggle. You know, but it's like, seriously, did we even have to revisit it? Who cares? You know?
Well, I mean, it's a year later. I mean, nobody cared by this point, so.
Yeah, and then, you know, and, boy, and then you have, and I love the three talents involved with it, but it's not great writing. The stuff with AJ and Punk and Brian where, you know, she proposes to Punk and then Brian proposes to her. I'm like, okay, there's got to be a better way to do what you're going for.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That might be the best angle on Raw right now because at least it's like, it's so goofy that I just kind of like, whatever, I'll just go with it. And at least AJ, I mean, this is a sign of improvement, and this is actually kind of sad. AJ and what they're doing with her, by default, she's the best diva character in the WWE. Probably the best diva character since Mickie James's little psycho run back in 2006. And that's like, yeah, because she's the only one that has a character, because everyone else is just kind of, hey, I'm the pretty girl, or hey, I'm the big girl that throws people around.
Yeah, well, apparently Vicky Guerrero's got a character, only it's Madison Rayne.
Well, I choose to try and forget that Vicky Guerrero's on that show every week.
Yeah. Oh, God. Well, I do have to talk about this a little bit. First off, she announced herself as the Queen Diva, and she comes out, and she's walking exactly like Madison walks. She's doing the wave the same way Madison does. I know someone's going to say, well, that's supposed to be a beauty queen wave. Well, yeah, but you know what? It'd be just as bad if TNA had a guy come out, drop to his knees, yell, it's clobbering time, only his biggest difference is he wears a black T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes I do get that sometimes characters are going to be similar. It depends on who plays what, but it's like, really, it's like there's somebody else on the other wrestling show doing this. You can't change this up a little bit. You can't think, oh, let's do this at a different time where there isn't somebody else using a similar nickname. I mean, it's like Buzzkill and Road Dogg all over again. Yes, it might have been something that's been done before, but come on.
Yeah. Yeah, but, so Raw, I'm not even joking here, it was one of the worst shows I've seen in a while. It was pretty bad. And I'm hoping that once Lesnar and Rock show their faces and get involved in the build-up for SummerSlam, that'll spice things up at least a little bit and make it a little bit more interesting. It's kind of sad that they have to go into the, who was here 10 years ago to get make this show actually watchable, but that's kind of where we're at right now. And I actually posed this question to James off the air, and I'm going to ask it to you. Since we are coming up on the 1000th episode of Raw, Nick, out of the 1,000 episodes of Raw, how many of them do you think you've seen?
Oh, Jesus.
It doesn't have to be exact, obviously.
I would say a good, 800. I mean, I did not become a wrestling fan. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was not allowed to watch wrestling until I was about 9 years old. And then early on I was a WCW fan. But, yeah, I mean, pretty much since 97 I watched at least some of Raw each week. I didn't watch at all when TNA was going head-to-head for a couple months. But other than that, yeah, I watched a little bit of Raw each week. So, I mean, I would say, a good 800? Well, no, I have to say more than that. No. Maybe a good, I almost want to say a good 7,500. 7,500. That would be my guess.
Okay. I was actually trying to figure it out myself because there were, even during the Monday Night Wars period, I would find ways to watch both shows. If I would watch one, I would tape the other and watch it the next night or something like that. So even during the Monday Night Wars, I watched every episode of Raw, even when WCW was 10 times better. I would watch Raw eventually. But there were only 3 times in Raw's entire history where I stopped watching for a few months. That was about a couple months after Katie Vick, because that just disgusted me so much that was like my threshold, and I had to take a break. About 6 months of the John Cena title reign in 2007, because it just drove me to insanity. And the Raw guest host crap in 2009, I was off and on every week. Let's say I missed about half of those shows. So all that combined, I would say for all the episodes of Raw, I've probably seen about 940, 950 of them.
You really think that many?
I think so, yeah.
Oh.
I remember watching the first show.
Me too. That was a big deal, man.
Yeah.
Everybody in school was talking about it.
God,
you got to remember, I grew up right across the river from where it actually happened in the Manhattan Center, so it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Now the real question is, out of all the shows you've seen, how many of them were actually worth it?
Well, yeah, there have been a lot.
I've seen, by the way, to answer the question, I've seen between 400 and 600. I stopped watching it in '97, and I want to preface this by, and I kind of went on to this little rant off air, and then I'll let you guys, finish. I make more sexual jokes than anybody I know. I enjoy women in thongs more than I probably should. I like naked boobies. I like all of these things. And yet when you put them together on a wrestling show, I'm offended. I don't know why that is. I don't know how that works. But I have a standards and practices in place in my mind.
Standards and practices.
Yes, I said standards and practices. I have standards for wrestling that I don't think should be crossed. And when those things started finding their way into wrestling, especially the WWF at the time, which had Vince McMahon just 6 months prior to when they started getting really risque, saying, you could always have your fans, your kids watch our product. When they did that, and then all of a sudden they just became so risque, I didn't like it. And Nick knows full well, I loved ECW, which was boobs, butts, and blood. That's what it was. And I loved it, but I did not like seeing it in the WWE. I felt that it should have stayed a family product, and as a result, from basically, I guess, sometime in 1997 through sometime in 2002, I didn't watch. Not a lick.
I'll say this, though. Well, that's funny you say that, because I actually think, as far as television goes, I thought that was the best era for Raw. But from about late 97 to about the time of the Invasion angle, so early 01. But, building off what you said about hot chicks and wrestling and everything, you'll appreciate this. I was watching an old episode of Raw the other day from, 98, and Terry Runnels was on there, and she looked smoking. I forgot how hot she was.
No, I mean, she weighs 100 pounds, and 50 of it is in her ass, and 50 of it is in her boobs. And the rest of it's just there.
It's like Jessica Rabbit.
She's 4'10" and 110 pounds of boobs and butt. That's perfect in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't get over how, and she was with Val Venus at the time, so I was just sitting there like, holy shit! Wow. All those memories from my 14-year-old self are coming back.
Nick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I thought Terry was at her sexiest in terms of her appearance with when she was with Goldust. And part of that is, I don't know, I just find women in gowns really sexy for some reason.
My favorite memory of Terry was when she wore the gold bikini on the Slammy Awards and bent over facing the camera. That was I got to admit, I watched that one in slow motion on a videotape over and over again. I got to admit that.
Yeah. You know what? If you think about the first true divas in the WWF, but I mean that in terms of the women that were labeled divas. It was a cokehead, a woman everyone thought was a bitch, and lovely little Terry, who I think even when she left on extremely good terms, and the basic agreement was, oh, if you ever want to come back, just give us a call, Terry. But I think her sole reason for leaving wasn't that she was upset or angry or wanted a bigger push. It was just she wanted to spend more time with her kid.
Yeah, but she was also getting in her 40s at that point too. So
she's that old.
45.
Yeah, how does she look now?
The same. A little more makeup.
That's all.
Body-wise, the same. New Jack's a lucky man, which is just sick in my opinion.
Oh.
What, she's dating New Jack?
Yes. He has naked pictures on his phone.
Patrick,
he won't share them, goddammit.
Patrick, did you miss that thing where, like, what wasn't New Jack, like, saying that she gave him, like, all these STDs?
No, I must have missed that. This is news to me.
Yeah, that's what New Jack does, apparently, between ECW reunions, where he has really shitty matches. He
never had good matches, so.
Oh, God. Which, by the way...
Bob Backlund at 62 could probably have a better match than New Jack.
Which, by the way, Tommy Dreamer, you're on my list now. You're on my epic list because you're starting this new company, House of Hardcore, and the people you announced for the first show are Sandman and Rhino, and a couple of WWE guys, and one guy who has a lot of potential, but he's a hardcore wrestler. You're doing what Shane Douglas is doing. You're trying to revive the torch that went out, got pissed on, got shit on, was put permanently in water, broken apart, and you're trying to glue it together and light it. It's over. ECW is fucking dead. Take the concepts, take the shit that worked, stop trying to revive it with the same goddamn talent.
How is Shane Douglas' company doing now, by the way?
Well, they drew a wonderful 250 people at their New York debut, and then in a crowd that was heavily papered in Philadelphia, they got about 800. They're doing awesome. According to Mike Johnson, they took a beggar's... This is an exact quote from some idiot that attended the show. Quote, Extreme Reunion took bigger steps in just 3 shows that TNA and Ring of Honor have taken in over 10 years of existence.
Who said that?
Some dumbass who attended the show.
No, you have to be a moron to say something like that. I can tell just by looking at what the product is that it's just trying to rehash something that was done 11 years ago.
Right, and what's worse is you have Mike fucking Johnson from PW Insider, which the website that had a meltdown because Sabu did a clean job to AJ Styles. In his report saying that was absolute. There might have only been 200 people at that show in New York, but you know what? They were the most passionate, most engaged fans I have seen at a wrestling show in so long. That is a compliment to this company and how good it really is. They got all those 200 people excited and happy to be there. Well, you know what? If they only drew 200 fucking people, I would hope those 200 people were excited because you know what? They're clearly the only people that gave a fucking damn.
Nick be raging. Like a Cajun.
And Shane Douglas, this will not stop. I will bash you on Facebook. I will go on your YouTube page. I will insult you. I will insult this company because as far as I'm concerned, you are a fucking idiot. And it's nothing to do with my respect for you as a performer. I loved you as a performer, but ECW is fucking dead. You are the asshole that said that for years bitched about Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan sticking around too long, and now weighing in at a whopping 455 pounds, you're continuing to run a wrestling show. You're continuing to do everything that you criticize other people for doing. Hell, you're the man whose most famous promo begins, I will not accept the torch from a company that died 11 years ago, R.I.P. Yet here you are trying to revive a company that died 11 years ago.
Funny how that works, but you're not wrong in a lot of respects. Absolutely. It's just ECW is not the future, and trying to revive it is not the future.
So here's what happened, Patrick. Here's how things worked out. Shane Douglas in WWF pisses everybody off, leaves, pisses off Vince. It pretty much, ruins any chance he ever has of going back. Gets a job with TNA, falls asleep backstage, gets one more chance, comes in, looks fat, out of shape, has a horrible match with Daniels. They say, look, sorry, Shane, thanks, but no thanks, it's not going to work. So now, you know what, because he's burned every bridge, nobody else will ever hire this guy again, and he doesn't want to work at Target full time. He's desperately trying to recreate his glory days. It is, Dave will kill me for this, but you know what, it is fucking the guy from Rap trying to perform in front of 50 people at a club in Tallahassee, pretending that it's like 1988 still, and he still, has a #1 hit.
Yeah, it's sad, really. It really is. But yeah, I'm surprised they're still putting on shows. I thought after that first show was a disaster that was going to be it.
Well, this is just another thing, and Shane did a whole statement where he said, "We will not tolerate the toxic behavior of these people going forward any longer. Clearly, there is something wrong with it when this group of people gets together." Kind of like saying, "Look, we screwed up. We booked the wrong people." One of those people was Sabu, who, was supposed to be in the main event. Overdosed, nearly killed himself. The big angle at these two shows, Sabu's redemption. Yeah, they were so desperate they brought Sabu back. Seriously, Shane, at least TNA waited 8 months to bring Jeff Hardy back. No, you bring him back at the very next fucking shows.
Well, he obviously woke up.
Yeah. Oh, God.
That's all I've got for tonight. So is there anything else you want to rage on before we go, Nick?
I don't want to go on a rage about Obama, so that's a different that's for my private YouTube channel.
Okay then. Sounds good to me.
Check me out on Facebook. I'm at Griffin Knoll. I'm uploading videos all the time. I'm uploading videos all the time. Check. What's your name again? NYG Fan for Life, or
NYG for Life.
Yeah. So
that's my YouTube name.
So that's pretty. So check Patrick's videos out. He's doing videos all the time, talking wrestling and movies and other stuff that's going on. We'll be back.
Yep.
We're gonna try to get on James.
Oh, by the way, I do want to rage on something. The Spider-Man movie, the new one, is nowhere near as good as people are saying it is. Okay, not even close. And it was one of those movies where I wanted my money back.
You know what? I haven't seen it, but my issue with a lot of comic book movies, especially whether it be a reboot or the start of the franchise, especially when it's a hero that's as well known as Spider-Man, you don't have to do the origin story. I find that to be the most boring part of the superhero story. We don't need 3 hours telling us why Spider-Man became a hero. I can tell you in 30 seconds. Got bit by a radioactive spider, didn't stop a mugger, that mugger shot his Uncle Ben. Motivation, that's it. Now tell us a decent story. We don't need to hear 3 hours about how he got his powers, okay?
Well, the movie, did you see the first movie that Raimi did 10 years ago?
Yeah, I did, and I thought that did it pretty well.
Well, then you basically saw this movie. Except with this movie, what they did differently, they tried to rip off Batman Begins with a little bit of that, and I thought the romance was very Twilighty. So I'm not saying it was a terrible movie, but to say it's like this awesome comic book movie that people are saying, I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's really not. They basically ripped off 3 things and splattered it all together.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that's just my, you know what, I like the Raimi movies, and I thought Doug Walker, who's the Nostalgia Critic, summed it up pretty well. He said, if you really enjoy the Raimi movies, you're probably not going to like this, if you didn't like the Raimi movies, you might like this. So, I mean,
that's probably, yeah. I think that's a fair assessment.
I liked the Raimi movies. Personally, my thought was, they're just going to, it's like what you said. When I heard they were going to reboot, I'm like, but they just did that movie 10 years ago. They don't have to go back. They can, right. They can have it for Spider-Man, but they don't have to go back to the beginning. Okay, they're going back to the beginning. So,
actually, they could have gone, there was enough there, because they did a lot of other different things, that they could have made a completely different movie without doing the origin story again.
Yeah.
But,
we'll see. I mean, some people are saying there's a lot of potential with the whole, what happened to his parents' story, but I'm like, I don't like it when movies assume they're going to get a sequel, because you tell one story, then tell us the second one if it's successful. But maybe I'll check it out. Personally, I'm saving my movie money for Batman Begins, and I dropped $79 on pay-per-view this weekend, so I can't exactly afford I bought the UFC pay-per-view and I bought the TNA pay-per-view, so it's like I gotta save a little bit, folks. I gotta buy gas and I gotta pay rent.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Batman too. So hopefully that delivers big time because I think that one looks like it's going to be awesome. But that's all I got for this week. Thank you, Nick, for staying on the line with me. Thank you to James Walsh for setting this up tonight, and we will see you all later, possibly next week. I know James is working on an interview right now, so hopefully that pans out, and I'll see you all later.